All right, guys, happy Monday. I know you've missed me saying that. I missed you guys so much. Honestly, I felt like I was missing out on my therapy sessions. Like I could just tell you guys what was happening. And so much has happened since I've been off air. It's only been 2 weeks. I could be telling you anything. I love the live chat right now. The people that are guessing. One person has already guessed, is guessing that I'm already pregnant again. But I did have a baby in the past 2 weeks. Also, somebody tried to kill me, in case you missed that. Imagine me being contacted by the FBI. I also had the Department of Child Services come to my door because I refused vaccines in the hospital and left the hospital early, whatever that means. The baby is mine. And of course, Ye dropped a new song while I was gone. And that is putting it mildly. And I'm very disappointed in how catchy the tune is. Really, I find myself just humming along. But today, I'm only back for a brief special announcement, something that I've been working on for about 2 years. You guys know that. It's an interview. And here is the trailer for that interview. So without any further ado.
I did not commit these crimes. I swear that before God and the people watching now and on my family. The people who support me are scared to talk. They are frightened to death that they're going to be canceled.
What I always found to be problematic about the Me Too movement from the beginning, we're conflating he made a pass at me and I didn't like it with rape.
It's a complete fabrication about my relationship with Gwyneth. I didn't put my hand on her. I didn't touch her. I definitely made a pass. Ashley Judd's claims are ridiculous. I settled with Rose McGowan. I gave her $100,000. Don't tell my wife. Don't get me in trouble. It's all conflated, and it's all led to the idea that I am going to be the one they persecute. They broke me. They broke me in half.
There's just so much when you read the transcripts that defy common sense for me.
I've asked to have lie detector tests brought into the prison. So I know they're not admissible, but I want the world to know.
To be honest with you, I think a lot of people are going to hear this conversation.
Candace, one thing I can tell you is this is going to explode.
And an explosion it definitely will be. It is, just going to tell you, it's an unbelievable conversation. And I feel personally that this entire year has been about the undoing of Hollywood. Like we're just recognizing that Hollywood is Babylon, biblically speaking. Celebrities are being exposed for who they actually are. Our eyes have been awakened to the truth. And I can guarantee you that this interview will fire another shot into the heart of the beast. A lot of people, it's easy. When somebody's going down, step on their head while they're drowning. Say what you want to say. It doesn't matter. He's going to prison. And then that person gets a voice. Harvey has not spoken in 8 years. I mean, this is his first on-camera interview in 8 years. So much has been said about him, but he hasn't spoken for himself. And he now is going to. Now, you're probably asking where you can watch. Well, I'll tell you in just a second. But first, welcome to the grand finale of Harvey Speaks. We obviously have to give it to our subscribers at first. And so if you are already subscribed at CandaceOwens.com, you can head right after this episode and watch the interview in its entirety before the media loses its collective mind, which they will do, obviously, because it's me and it's Harvey, and we probably shouldn't even be speaking to each other according to their rules. And they never imagined a scenario when the Me Too movement was going all crazy where podcasting would pick up, where people would be able to speak to independent journalists, to moms, to just talk to mommy sleuths about what actually took place, or that mommy sleuths would have so much fun on TikTok and on Instagram going through transcripts and reading the court cases. And I will tell you that tomorrow we will be dropping a part of that conversation here for free on YouTube. And I've been very clear about why this matters so much to me. If you are not paying attention, Harvey is back in court in New York City. His cases got overturned, which I am glad to hear, because looking through this case has made me lose faith in the judicial process of America. It truly has. That's why this case matters, because I just gave birth to my third son. And I just cannot imagine a scenario where the media can just effectively execute a hoax. And nobody cares about the facts of the case. They care about the emotion of the case. They care about women crying on the stand. And they go, oh, well, put him in prison. For those of you who have been locked into this series, it's, in my view, and in the view now of the appellate judges who overturned his prosecution, was indeed a media hoax. Harvey was essentially hanged because somebody had to pay for the hashtag Me Too. These hashtags are quite expensive. I gotta tell you, you gotta hang it. BLM, everyone goes crazy, they're angry, and then they just convict someone. Exact same thing happened here. I'm going to very briefly run you guys who have not watched this series. You should go back, watch episode 1, watch episode 2. I would encourage you to watch all of the episodes before you dive into the conversation that I had with Harvey. But I'm going to very briefly run you through the absurdity of the New York cases that initially put him into prison before telling you the most absurd story ever about his trial in Los Angeles. That one is just, I am beyond myself. Every time I look through the facts of this case and realize that he says, I don't know this person. And then the woman says, no, I don't know him either. And yet somehow he gets convicted. It boggles my mind. But let's start with the spark notes here from New York. Like I said, you can go back and watch the first episode. But Miriam Halei, also known as Mimi, is the individual that put Harvey away for 20 years. The best way to quickly remember her story, which I want to be clear, I do not believe Mimi at all. I do not believe her even 1%. I'm always honest with you. I've looked into this case. Essentially, the story that she tells is kind of like that viral Super Bowl meme of the artist The Weeknd, where he looks like he has no idea where he's going. You know what I'm talking about? And I'll tell you why it is best remembered that way. In short, Mimi met Harvey at the Cannes Film Festival. Okay, she went up to his hotel at that time. She claimed to be horrified by him already having made a pass at her. And she was so horrified by what happened at the Cannes Film Festival that, and the emails reveal this, she immediately thereafter reaches out to his office, the Weinstein Company, and secures herself an internship at his company, working as a production assistant for Project Runway. She was so horrified at what happened in Cannes that at the end of that internship, she decides to meet up with him at the Mercer Hotel to catch up. She then heads down to his office to meet with someone else there, and after seeing him, agrees for him to drive her back to her apartment in New York City. And to be clear, his assistant was in the car with him at that time. Now, she tells the story that that's when he marked where she lived, because obviously if you're Harvey Weinstein, it would make sense that rather than inviting her somewhere, you're just going to figure out where she lives by dropping her off at home and then barge into her apartment later that evening. And that's what she says happened. He barged into her apartment. Well, first he rang the doorbell and she had to obviously physically open the door, which the court transcripts show. But then once he gets in through that door and in through a second secure door, which she doesn't really remember how he did that, he then instantly knew which apartment was hers. He just took a lucky guess. He was wandering around the apartment and somehow figured out on the floor which exact apartment was hers. She's unclear on the details. She's iffy on the details. What you find when you read these court transcripts is that when these young women get into a hiccup, when they come across a hiccup and they can't really explain why something makes no sense, they just start crying harder. They need breaks, they need water breaks. They're overcome with emotion suddenly when something they say makes no sense. Okay. Now, you would think after that she would have gone to the police. Of course, that's not what happened. Just a few days beyond there, she alleges that he, again, and she was so upset with herself, got into a predicament where Harvey again assaulted her, this time in a hotel room, which was his. So she went into his hotel room upon invite, and she says she was going, to address him about what had happened earlier, but instead was assaulted again. And after that assault, Mimi, like all the women involved, magically get tickets and red carpet premiere events. Harvey is able to pay for their flights, sometimes to Los Angeles, sometimes to London. Mimi keeps up this relationship with Harvey Weinstein spanning years, by the way. I want to be clear, spanning years. And it is shown via the emails that she ends emails, Harvey, XOXO, love, Mimi. Here's one of these emails, peace and love, Miriam. She signs off. In each email, she's asking him for a favor. She's asking him for a part. She's asking him for an audition. She's asking him for tickets. And in this one, she's asking him or telling him that her cat needs feeding. Okay. Let's pull that up again. Dear Harvey, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? Listen, I'm saving up to become a Kundalini yoga teacher, and I just wanted to announce myself available for work. If you happen to, by any chance, have anything shooting in London, I'll be a runner, whatever. I'd really appreciate any leads. My cat needs feeding. It's just a strange thing to put in an email, okay? Either way, hope you're super well. Peace and love, Miriam. Okay? Again, I'm just giving you a sample here of how these women emailed Harvey after their alleged assaults, and when they can't explain why they would do that. If all else fails, cry. Cry, 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 cry. Jessica Mann, of course, is the second young woman who put Harvey into prison for just a couple of years, this time for actual rape. And you'll recall that I've had correspondences with Jessica Mann since she did a whole series on her Instagram about me picking up this Harvey story. When I said, I'm happy to host you on this podcast to tell your story, she suddenly didn't want to do that. And maybe it's because, and as I said to her, your emails are quite telling. If you think that, she said, oh, you agree that there's more that could be added that's off email. I'm like, sure, present it to me and I will present it to the public. I have no horse in this race. I'm just looking at the facts, and factually speaking, Jessica Mann, after her alleged assault, had her friends testify against her who were at breakfast with her and Harvey the morning after, who said she was in great spirits. Not only was she in great spirits after her alleged assault by Harvey, but she changed her flight so that she could stay with Harvey an additional night. She was supposed to fly out with her friend who testified against her. She was in town with her friend who testified against her. They were going to see Wicked together on his dime. She was staying in his hotel room, and he testified that she seemed to be in great form, in such great form after her alleged assault that she changed her flight to stay with Harvey. That seems like a strange thing to do after you are raped or sexually assaulted. But what do I know? I'm just putting the pieces together that are common sense. And nobody sent Harvey more emails than Jessica Mann, more loving emails. Her friends testified that she said he was like a mentor. She wrote in an email to her boyfriend years later that Harvey reminded her of her father, that she perceived him as a mentor. According to her, she loved Harvey, according to her emails, so much so that she took her mother to meet Harvey. That is, to me, the craziest part of the Jessica Mann case. I don't care what you want to tell me about how women deal with things, okay? To try to convince me that you would survive a rape and then months later, years later, take your mom to meet your rapist willfully. You're not in a corner. You don't have to answer an email. He reaches out. You say, I'm with my mom. Can I bring my mom for us to get drinks? I mean, pull up this email. I don't want to misquote her. I want to, the email between Jessica Mann, he writes to her on July 29th, 2014. So again, this is after her assault. I will be in LA tomorrow. Are you free around 9:30 for a drink? All my best, Harvey. She responds, it would be great to see you. However, my mother would be with me if we stopped by. She is here till Thursday afternoon. I have Thursday evening free so far. Tomorrow, depending on if you want us to swing by, we are thinking of going to Soho with my girlfriend if she gets back in time. And he says, in response, Harvey says, if you want to stop by with your mom at 9:30, you can come, or come by the Soho house at 9:30. I could be wrong here, but I think Jessica Mann would be the potentially first person ever to introduce their mother to their alleged rapist after their rape, and to carry on this relationship, which went on for years. Again, these young women were not like 19 years old when we say young women, okay? 27 years old, 28 years old, going until they're 30 years old. This is not Cassie meeting Diddy when she was 19 years old. These are fully formed women, and in my view, they knew exactly what they were doing. What's happening right now is he is being retried in New York because, as I told you, the appellate judges looked at the case and said, this is crazy. I don't understand what happened here. Why did you allow all of this to take place in the courtroom? Why did you allow witnesses to testify to his character, which had nothing to do with the case? You let people sit down and say, oh, he was really mean to me in third grade. I'm being hyperbolic here, but they did allow people to testify. He was mean to his brother. What does that have to do with anything that's taking place here? It's just a character assassination. And so they overturned the case. The reason they allowed so many people to contribute to essentially just denigrating his character was because on the basis of the facts, if anybody objectively looked at the many emails that these women wrote to Harvey after their alleged sexual assaults, they would just conclude that this was all very much consensual, which is what Harvey contended. He contended that, yes, I had relations with these women. Yes, I was cheating on my wife, but these relations were consensual. And to these women, these relations were clearly transactional, right? They were willing to do whatever with Harvey until they, until they received tickets, and they wanted to receive tickets to LA. They wanted to take their friends to red carpet events. And I think in the back of their minds, they thought they were going to be transformed into the next Angelina Jolie. And so they were satisfied with those transactions until their careers completely plummeted. And they didn't become the next big movie star. They didn't become the next Halle Berry, so to speak. And so what is quite telling, however, is the Los Angeles case, because as I said, the craziest case of all was when Harvey said, I don't know this person. This literally never happened. It is the only time that he had pivoted from his earlier points of saying it was consensual and said, I wasn't even there. I have no idea what you're talking about. And still, they managed to convict him in Los Angeles. And before I tell you about that woman who was able to make that happen through a lot of tears, I do want to read you this exchange from the transcripts of Harvey and Mimi Halei, his first accuser, that took place just a couple of days ago, because it really shows you their mindset. He is outwardly asking Mimi, his lawyer is asking her, why didn't you tell the press when you went on these press tours and you cried and you said what happened? Why didn't you tell them about your many correspondences with Harvey Weinstein? You can take a look at this transcript. He is asking, and Skylar, I'm going to take them to the bottom of page 733. He says, but you didn't mention, again, this is the lawyer questioning her, cross-examining her. You didn't mention on any of those press appearances that you had an encounter with Mr. Weinstein in the Tribeca Grand Hotel a week later after the July 10th incident, right? She answers, correct. You did not mention that Mr. Weinstein paid for your flight to Los Angeles. She says, correct. He says, you did not mention that he paid for your flight to London. She says, correct. He says, you did not mention that you met him in a hotel room in the Claridge's Hotel in London of October of 2006. She answers, no, I did not mention those things. He says, you did not mention that you were desperate to see him and talk to him in February of 2007 when you reached out to his assistant asking to get FaceTime with him. FaceTime? Sorry, there was no FaceTime. He says, when you were asking, am I going to be able to see Mr. Weinstein? She says, yes, with regards to working projects. You did not tell the public that information, right? She answers, no. You did not mention that you continued to have friendly emails with him in 2007, right? She says, I did not. You did not mention your friendly emails with him in 2008. She answers, correct. You did not mention your friendly emails in 2009. She answers, correct. You did not mention that you told Harvey Weinstein if he invested in your project, you would love him forever and ever, did you? I did not. You told the press only part of the story, correct? And she answers, I told the part that was relevant to what I was trying to share. And he says, right, exactly. That's what I'm asking. So she's essentially, in my view, admitting to lying by omission. Because again, this is why I call it a media hoax. When you give people just little tidbits and you don't present the full picture, it can lead them to the wrong conclusions. And if they had read her emails and the press had responsibly reported on her emails, or at least pushed back at her during these press conferences and says, hey, what about this email? What is this? You had a relationship with him, or if they reported on it, everybody would have said, this looks to me like I don't know, an arrangement, a transactional, a relationship to be sure. And again, I don't think Harvey Weinstein is a moral man. I just also do not believe that he is a rapist. And I certainly do not view these women as moral women. Before I tell you about the LA case, guys, I first want to tell you about Noland. That is spelled G-N-O-Land. You would think a world where your data is locked into big tech's vault, your voice is being drowned out by the algorithm, and your ideas are being scraped, monetized, and buried would be a thing of the past, but it's not. It happens every day. No.land is a blockchain-powered rebellion disguised as a novel multi-user operating system. This isn't just tech, it's the Logoverse, a universe where you hold the keys. Imagine a social platform where your posts cannot be shadow banned, a marketplace where your creations are not taxed by middlemen, a community where your code, your art, your ideas actually earn you power, not just likes. Built on the intuitive no language, Noland flips the script on censorship, control, and extractive platforms. It's not just a blockchain, it's a full-blown operating system for digital communities where developers collaborate like a jazz band, live and on-chain, improvising governance, apps, and economies in real time. So if you'd like to learn more about that today, you can head to gno.land/Candace. That's gno.land/Candace. Also telling you about Just Thrive. One of the biggest health secrets not talked about is that everything starts in your gut. Every day your gut is fighting a silent war against processed foods, work stress, and toxins in the air that you breathe. When your gut's in trouble, your whole body feels it. Most people are spending money on probiotics that don't even work. Up to 99% of traditional brands die in your stomach acid before they reach your gut. You might as well flush them down the drain. That's what makes Just Thrive spore-based probiotic completely different. Just Thrive is the only probiotic clinically proven to arrive 100% alive in your gut. It does something that no other probiotic can. It turns your gut into an antioxidant factory, creating protective compounds exactly where you need them most. For you, that means better digestion, healthy immunity, more energy, and easy weight management. Just Thrive probiotic comes in a capsule of a berry or a flavored gummy, so there's an option for everyone in the family. For over a decade, Just Thrive has been fighting to make Americans healthy again with science-backed solutions that you can trust, from their award-winning probiotic to their full line of gut immune and brain health supplements. If you'd like to join the gut health revolution and take your control of your health today, you can visit justthrivehealth.com and you'll save 20% if you use promo code Candace. You can see the difference yourself, or you will get a full product refund with no questions asked. You can take control today with Just Thrive. Again, that's justthrivehealth.com with promo code Candace. Okay, the Los Angeles case, in my opinion, is the most egregious in terms of a miscarriage of justice. It leads me to believe that the courts are just irreparably corrupted, plausibly being run by gangs. You know, we see the movies and people go up to judges and make them do things. That's what reading through what happened to Harvey in Los Angeles makes me believe. It's the only thing that would possibly make sense. It is the oddest story of all because, again, like I told you, Harvey, for all of his many, many faults, has pretty much owned up to having relations with many of the women who have accused him. Consensual relations. Yes, I made a pass at her. I did this. I did that. You're going to see that if you watch the interview. He's very open about what his relations were with virtually each and every one of his accusers, which is why this case in Los Angeles is a strange departure. Because he claims that he had no relations with this actress, that he was not even there at the time of the alleged assault at the Mr. C's hotel in Los Angeles. And what's even stranger is the woman who is accusing him is agreeing. She's saying that she didn't know Harvey. We'll get more into that detail in just a second. Now, when Harvey says that I was not physically there, right? That to me should just be, okay, it's over, no questions asked, because we can prove that he was not there. It should be something simple to prove. I don't know, cell phone data. Perhaps we could use the cell phone data to see if Harvey Weinstein was physically at Mr. C's hotel. Oh, the judge actually didn't allow it when they tried to subpoena the cell phone data from his accuser, because they also made the allegation that that woman was not even there. A judge said, no, actually, you are not allowed to do that. So let me tell you about his accuser. Harvey's accuser is a Russian actress named Evgenia Chernyshova. So that would be like Eugenia in English. She's Russian, so it's Evgenia. And she, of course, went by Jane Doe all throughout the trial. And then she kind of announced herself with a colorful profile in the Hollywood Reporter after Harvey was sentenced. Like, now I'm ready to be famous for putting Harvey Weinstein away. The judge sentenced Harvey to 16 years for forcible rape, forcible oral copulation, and penetration by a foreign object. Okay? Like I said, this was nothing like the others. All of these allegations were just absurd. And I should mention, by the way, that even if all of it had happened, which I do not believe, then that would follow a long line of allegations of abuse that were made by Evgenia. Because before her 2013 assault, which she claimed happened from Harvey Weinstein, she had claimed, according to a former boyfriend of hers, that 6 years earlier in 2007, she was assaulted by a boyfriend, which left her hospitalized. She claimed that she suffered PTSD since that incident. She claimed in 2010 that the owner of the Tuscan Football Club dragged her by her hair and beat her, and then bought her a new Bentley. She claimed in 2011 that, to friends of hers, that there was a powerful man in Moscow named Arthur who put her up in a suite at the Ritz Hotel in Moscow and then dragged her into the bathroom, grabbed her by her hair at the airport, and assaulted her. And she had also made previous claims against the father of her child, that he similarly dragged her by her hair and sexually assaulted her. And most recently, she had made an allegation that on a trip to Russia, she was assaulted again by someone who pointed a gun and dragged her by her hair. So this kind of repeat allegation of her being dragged by her hair. I find it to be very interesting and very compelling. Now, when it comes to her allegations about what Harvey Weinstein did to her in particular, the story takes place in 2013. And she was in town in Los Angeles for the Italian Film Festival. She testified that she was raped by Harvey at the Mr. C's Hotel after she attended the LA Italian Film Festival, and she was attending as a VIP guest. She told the jury that Weinstein just suddenly showed up to her hotel room completely unannounced, that he loudly banged on the door, that he came in and he assaulted her. And she said she has no idea how Harvey knew where she was staying that night. And she described him as a stranger that she had only met briefly prior to him storming into her hotel room. Okay, here is her telling ABC News about that time. Take a listen.
The Russian-born Italian model and actress says she briefly met Weinstein at 3 different events in the 2010s.
I didn't know who he is.
You didn't know the power that he held in Hollywood at that time?
No, I didn't know.
Did you ever email him or have a conversation with him?
Never.
You never asked him for anything?
Never.
In 2013, Evgenia was a VIP guest at the Los Angeles Italia Festival when she says Weinstein forced his way into her hotel and sexually assaulted and raped her.
I heard his banging on the door, and he was loud. I know it's him because he was saying his name, and I was really embarrassed, and I opened this door. I regret this thing for decade, for the last 10 years of my life, that I did open this door.
Now, to be clear, Harvey was not staying at Mr. C's. He was staying at the Peninsula. Again, he maintains that this just never happened. And she can't answer how or why it happened. She just got a bang on the door. She doesn't know why Harvey Weinstein even knew that she was staying at that room. And oddly, the room was not booked under her name. So if you're thinking this is like, oh, he's so powerful, he just called up and said, where is this actress that I saw across the room who I don't know, and she doesn't know me. I just saw her and she's so attractive that I'd like to break into her room and rape her. And they just said, yes, right this way, Mr. Weinstein. No, because the hotel wasn't booked under her name. She used an alias, Leonore, which I believe is her daughter's name or one of her daughter's name. So this is another one of these things where we're supposed to believe that Harvey just has incredible radar, that you could see him at an event and he will just know where you live, and he will wander through the hallways of even a hotel that you're staying at until he breaks into your hotel room, or actually knocks on the door of your hotel room, and then you let him in, and then he says, I'm Harvey Weinstein, okay? Now, while testifying about this incident, Evgenia made a reference to what Harvey forced her to do, this very dramatic rape scene. And oddly, she referenced Harvey's testicles as a part of the story. Now, for those of you who have been following the series, you know that that's not possible because Harvey doesn't have any testicles. He got gangrene in the 1990s and had to have them sewn into his thighs. But don't worry, once this mistake was made, Evgenia had a reason for why, Russian is my first language. When I was saying balls on the stand, I meant something else. I just messed that part up. So she messed it up in a very big way. But like I said, the judge very clearly had something against Harvey. And who cares, right? Who cares? Now, it might have also been relevant that earlier that day, she had sent some very sexually explicit messages to Pascal Vicedomini. That was the organizer of the Italian festival, who she very clearly had some sort of a relationship with. But of course, the courts did not allow the jury to consider those messages. So the rape that she alleges happened took place on February 6th. On February 17th, 2013. Leading up to that, she was messaging with the person who was throwing on this event, this Italian festival. First, on February 6th, she wrote to Pascal, tomorrow is your birthday. Sleep with me. I'll be coming to LA next week. Pascal writes back, yes, I'm going to the Grammys. Cool. Then I'll wish you a happy birthday tomorrow. I need your beautiful mouth now. And then she writes back, I think I know how to help you. Okay. And then he writes back, I was thinking exactly that. You know me too well. Then on the day of the alleged assault leading up to it, February 17th, she wrote to him at 1:35 p.m., I'm waiting for you. And he writes, on my way, love. And then she writes, hurry up. There's a surprise waiting for you. You would think this would be very relevant, what she was doing on the day leading up to this alleged assault that Harvey says he wasn't even in the hotel for. And like I said, the judge said, we just will not allow the jury to see these explicit sexual messages. Harvey's team believed that she was out with Pascal that night, and that would certainly make sense. They definitely do not believe that she was at Mr. C's hotel, and I'll tell you why. And this is really the craziest part of the story. So Alan Jackson, who was Harvey's attorney, upon cross-examination specifically asked Evgenia if she stayed at Mr. C's hotel following the alleged rape. Fair, right? Like, did you stay in the hotel? Did you burst out of the room? And she said, yes, she stayed place. She stayed at the hotel. He also asked her if she recalled hearing a loud fire alarm going off in the hotel that night of her alleged rape. She says it happened in the wee hours, so like around 12:45 a.m., maybe right after midnight. And she seemed very confused by the question of whether or not she heard an alarm. She said she did not recall hearing a fire alarm that night. And at that moment in the courtroom, Weinstein's attorney shot back, you don't remember the fire alarm because you weren't in your room, right? What you talking about? Well, his team also called the LAPD to testify about what took place at Mr. C's hotel. Just Harvey's luck, or you would think it would be his luck in a sane world, during that hour where she alleges that her rape took place at 12:45 a.m. on the morning of February 18th, the fire alarm went off at Mr. C's hotel and everybody had to file out of the hotel. She has no recollection of that fire alarm having ever took place. She didn't remember the fire alarm. And the following morning, she did not choose to go to the police. She stayed put and instead chose to have breakfast at the hotel. She also, the receipts show, had dinner at the hotel. In fact, she ended up staying at that hotel with her friend through to March 1st. The records show that she ordered many meals, dry cleaning. She went out to many events thereafter. She complained about the Wi-Fi at the hotel. In fact, Evgenia did not make time to go to the police until 4 years after this alleged incident, 4.5 years after this alleged rape. And her timing is a bit suspicious, if you ask me, because she decided to go shortly after the New York Times published the first story regarding the Harvey Weinstein allegations. She up and went to the police station on October 19th, 2017. The New York Times had published their first piece on October 5th, 2017. Remarkable timing, exactly 2 weeks after they broke the first story regarding the Weinstein allegations. Now, in case you're thinking, okay, she sounds guilty as sin, and I'm not believing that Harvey Weinstein was even there that night since she doesn't remember the alarm, and she also said he had balls. Well, you'd be wrong, because she has an explanation for why she waited 4.5 years. And here's what she told ABC News.
When her daughter's own traumatic experience prompted her to finally speak out.
I was sexually assaulted and terrified at the moment. I was only 15.
I convinced her to go to the police and we make a deal. I promise her that I will go to the police.
Maria did go to the police and received a temporary restraining order against her alleged perpetrator. Evgenia also went to the police, and on January 6th of 2020, Los Angeles County prosecutors charged Weinstein with rape and sexual battery in connection to Evgenia and another Jane Doe.
Got it, guys? So what happened was she didn't do anything. She enjoyed her time out in LA after that. She also went to Malibu after that, which we'll do a deep dive in a timeline when he goes back for his retrial in Los Angeles. But she wasn't motivated to do anything about this rape until her daughter had some assault happen to her. And it just happened to be the unique timing of when the New York Times came out with these allegations. And then she went to the police with no evidence, obviously, because Harvey still maintains that he was not even at that hotel and he doesn't know this woman. Maybe he met her briefly a few times, but it is quite a defense. I wasn't there. I don't know her. Please allow me to get her phone records so I can show you that she was not even there, that she was likely out with this guy, Pascal. Judge, no, I'm sorry. You're guilty. And you want to know why you're guilty? Because she's crying, and she's crying a lot, and she's crying on the stand. She's talking about her daughter. And so what if she can't even describe your private parts? So what if she's actually so wrong on your private parts that the parts that she is describing don't even exist? Don't you see her tears? Genuinely, I think that woman is going to burn in hell. I'm just going to be honest. When I looked through everything, I was like, this is so egregious that any person that allowed this to happen, any person in the courtroom that was complicit in this, and once again, of course, the courtroom invited everybody to testify. He took my lunch money when I was in 3rd grade. He's a bad guy, Your Honor. Jury, he's a real bad guy. He punched his brother, and him and his brother got into a fight when they were 8 years old. He's a bad guy. Yeah, in the absence of evidence, bring in a bunch of people who have quarrels with you over the year and allow them to testify to your behavior. And by the way, those people who were testifying about what a mean boss he was or how he argued with his brother, they were probably telling the truth. That has nothing to do with an allegation of rape. Without even placing him at Mr. C's hotel, they convicted Harvey Weinstein. 16 years in Los Angeles. What is that about? That's about a social movement called Me Too. And like I said, Harvey Weinstein was hanged on the hashtag Me Too. There was no evidence here that if I was a jury person, if I was on the jury, that I would have convicted him with. There was absolutely none, all emotion. Anyways, you guys, before I get into reading some of your live comments, obviously I have to keep today's episode short because I've got to continue to feed my son. I want to tell you about Paleo Valley. I've been really loving Paleo Valley. I've been eating their beef sticks. They are phenomenal. I actually have one here. I'm not going to make the noise here, but the jalapeno one is delicious. When you're craving a snack and you want to make sure that it's healthy, Paleo Valley is the way to go. They make sure that their meat sticks are made with 100% grass-fed beef that is sourced from small-scale regenerative American farms, so you can feel good about what you're eating and what you're supporting. They've stripped out all the junk. There's no preservatives, gluten, soy. There's no sugar, dairy, or GMOs. There's just clean, nutrient-dense fuel, the way that food was meant to be. Whether you're road tripping, working late, or running around with the kids, these sticks deliver high-protein energy without the crash. So whether you're keto, paleo, carnivore, it doesn't matter. Paleo Valley will work with your lifestyle, not against it. They come in 5 bold flavors: original, jalapeno, that's my favorite, summer sausage, garlic summer sausage, and teriyaki. So there's something for everyone. With over 55 million beef sticks sold, Paleo Valley is trusted, proven, and backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. So right now you'll get 20% off your first order at paleovalley.com/Candace if you use code Candace at checkout. That's paleovalley.com/Candace, promo code Candace at checkout. Then there's Fatty 15, which I want to remind you about. It's pretty simple. Essential nutrients keep our cells healthy, which keeps us healthy. Studies show that C15 works by strengthening our cells, improving our mitochondrial function, and protecting us against damaging free radicals. The result: better long-term metabolic, liver, and heart health. Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning, and pure C15 supplement. By replenishing our cells with that essential C15 nutrient, Fatty 15 effectively repairs our cells and restores our long-term health. Fatty 15 has 3 times more cellular benefits than omega-3 or fish oil. This functionality leads to a myriad of exciting benefits now and as we get older, namely improved metabolic, liver and heart health, smoother functioning joints, deeper sleep, and healthier hair, skin, and nails. Very essential. It comes in a reusable glass jar, and refill capsules are shipped to your door quarterly in pouches that are made from recycled materials. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish your C15 levels and restore your long-term health. You can get additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Candace and using code Candace at checkout. That's fatty15.com/Candace with promo code Candace at checkout. All right, guys, going to look at some of your comments, but I think we should show the Harvey trailer one more time because this interview is completely explosive. Hollywood is going to burn. All right, take a listen.
I did not commit these crimes. I swear that before God and the people watching now and on my family. The people who support me are scared to talk. They are frightened to death that they're going to be canceled.
What I always found to be problematic about the Me Too movement from the beginning, we're conflating he made a pass at me and I didn't like it with rape.
It's a complete fabrication about my relationship with Gwyneth. I didn't put my hand on her. I didn't touch her. I definitely made a pass. Ashley Judd's claims are ridiculous. I settled with Rose McGowan. I gave her $100,000. Don't tell my wife. Don't get me in trouble. It's all conflated, and it's all led to the idea that I am going to be the one they persecute. They broke me. They broke me in half.
There's just so much when you read the transcripts that defy common sense for me.
I've asked to have lie detector tests brought into the prison. So I know they're not admissible, but I want the world to know.
To be honest with you, I think a lot of people are going to hear this conversation.
Candace, you know, one thing I can tell you is this is going to explode.
Definitively. All I can say is definitively. Okay, jumping into your comments, Brittany Douglas writes, I just heard the court transcript of Cassie in the Diddy case, and they might use her testimony to show that even after being abused, it might still be normal to communicate, or in her case, be sexually involved afterwards. I have a lot of feelings about that case that's playing out. It's a really hard case to compartmentalize different elements. First and foremost, he, without question, I mean, is obviously very guilty of abusing her. We got to watch the domestic abuse on camera. And so that's one element that we have completely confirmed. Also, remember, Cassie met Diddy when she was 19 years old. And of course, 19 is legal, but it is not an age where your brain is developed. And so I think there was also an element of grooming. Now, that doesn't mean that she did not sign up for that relationship because, oh my God, he's Diddy and he's powerful, and women are naturally attracted to that, this sense of power and that she's going to be taken care of. But I have a lot to say about that case, and I'm going to do it on Thursday. I'm going to jump on with Ian to talk about the dogs that are not barking in the Diddy case. And I just want to say I don't view the Harvey case to be anywhere near that, mainly because these women pursued Harvey. And also, they were plenty of age. Like I said, 27 years old through to 30. We're not talking about a 19-year-old who was working under his label, which is what she was doing, right? So you go, that power dynamics are not right there either. Nope, these were actresses that were looking for a leg up, asking him for jobs, going up to him, asking him, oh, I'm out of work. Could you do this for me? And it's just entirely different, which is why I encourage you, Brittany, to go back if you haven't and watch the Harvey series from the beginning. because you will see I am not a fan of these women. And I will say, if any of them would like to come on the show and give their version of events that can't be found in the transcripts and in the emails, maybe you have some emails that were not presented in the courtroom, my platform is yours. But after everything I have seen, my conclusion is that what happened to Harvey in the courtroom was not an act of justice, but rather an act of social justice, which is not real justice. Rad Trust, Rad Faith writes, free love is a lie and it's destroying us. If she isn't your wife, then she's your neighbor's wife, sister, mother, daughter, but more than that, created in the image and the likeness of the Lord. Self-control. Yes, Harvey is in prison because he did not have self-control, my friends. There's no question about it. If he is guilty of anything, it's being an idiot and not being faithful to his wife. And you see so many men that fall because of this. So many men, addictions to pornography, a topic that me and Ian gently touched on a couple of weeks ago. We don't speak enough about the increasingly pornographic culture that we live in, and how not having self-control, if you're not controlling yourself, who is controlling you, right? That's the question that you should be asking. Jeremiah writes, I'm quite a recent convert to Catholicism from being a Pentecostal Protestant. This was my first conclave. Let's pray for our Father. I am feeling remarkably optimistic. And I think that's because my husband has been optimistic. And thus far, the Pope hasn't done anything that has signaled that he is anything other than a true believer. So we do need to keep the prayers, and Habemos Papam. We have a Pope Candace, Jeremiah writes. Army Sniper writes, as a victim of false accusations by a woman that almost cost me my career, you are amazing to do this. I got lucky, but many do not. That is absolutely true. It ruins men's lives. I think that if a woman is allowed to file as a Jane Doe, then the man should be kept as a John Doe. Someone offered that in the comments recently, and I thought it was brilliant. I agree. I now think that. I believe that. They should be kept as a John Doe until they're proven guilty. Why should a man's life get ruined in the press or get ruined because you can research a case and you don't even know if the woman is telling the truth? And sometimes even when the woman's not telling the truth, a man's life is still ruined, which is the reason that Harvey Weinstein is in prison, in my view. Black Fatigue writes, welcome back. Ian was a good substitute teacher while you were gone. Is it likely that she was describing her consensual sexcapade with Pascal that night and simply used Harvey's name to support her lie of the event? I think this woman has a very steep history of lying. I think she is insane. And I'm not sure what she was thinking, but I do know that that is the case that I am most looking forward to following. Because it just is so ridiculous. Not a single shred of evidence that Harvey was even there. Think about that he was even there. And they convicted him. It's because she cried in court. That's just completely crazy. And they say women have no power. Allie writes, we miss you. Congratulations on your beautiful new baby. Thank you so much, Allie. Sarah writes, I have 3 kids and was a zombie the first few weeks with all of them so big. Kudos to you, Candace. Trust me, I was definitely in that mode. You know, the first couple of weeks are really hard as with a newborn, especially if you're exclusively breastfeeding. You're just exhausted. I'm exhausted right now. I think our bodies just go into a rhythm where you're just like, you're not going to sleep. So just keep going. But I'll talk more about that. I'm definitely going to do an episode on my birth story, which you guys are going to love. Leading up to it, women always love a good birth story. Like, what were the signs you were going to go into labor? I have a very hilarious birth story that has everything to do with muffins and Walmart. And I can't wait to share that with you. We'll probably record it and I'll release it maybe next week while it's fresh in my mind, because I don't want to forget anything. And then, of course, I have to tell you about the DOJ and the craziness. I saw people in the chat going, what did I miss? Yeah, look that up. Yeah, someone tried to murder me. Seriously, like was plotting to murder me in a group chat with 40 other people. And I don't know their names, but because they allegedly didn't respond to him. But I would be more comfortable if I knew their names. And he's been arrested and he has pled guilty. So yeah, the FBI got in on his communications and him plotting to murder me. So you guys are like, I'm so worried about your safety. You maybe had a reason to be worried about my safety. He was going to murder me over my Piers Morgan interview with Rabbi Shmuley. Like that was his reason for wanting to murder me. Completely crazy. Anyways, last person who asked that, who tried to kill you, was it Ryan Reynolds? No, it was not Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, you can look that up. It was in the press, and I will tell you way more about that when I'm on air more. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, I will definitely be back to speak to you tomorrow very briefly about the Taylor Swift move. I could not believe it. Taylor Swift teaming up with Justin Baldoni and giving the press what they need to know about Blake Lively threatening her to get her to come out. I have 10 years of text messages. Don't forget that I have 10 years of text messages to come out in support of her. Wild times. And nobody can do a breakdown on that and that entire dynamic and what actually forced Taylor Swift to come out other than me. So I'll be back tomorrow to give you guys that. But reminding you, if you would like to watch the Harvey Weinstein interview, if you want to be the first to watch that, CandaceOwens.com right now. It is completely live. And again, I'll be on later this week with Ian to speak about the Diddy case, the dogs that are not barking. You'll see me a lot this week. I'll be kind of making my way in this week, and then I'll be gone again for another 2 weeks. So I'll see you guys then.